Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. It is Marvin speaking. We're just going to get into the case. Someone asked me to go back over this case. I did do a video some months ago back on it, but I think it was only just the one, to be honest, people. But someone told me to put this back out there. Brett Dryden was a 35-year-old British man from Chester, the street, who was found dead at his home in Mallorca, Spain, in July 2024. His family believe he was murdered, although Spanish authorities initially suggested he died of a pulmonary embolism. Details of the case: Dryden was found dead by friends at his home on July the 21st or 22nd, 2024, after he did not return from a siesta. He was found with a 4-inch gash to his head and other injuries. Initial police response, according to his family's friends at the scene, were initially told by police that it appeared to be a violent murder, possibly involving an axe. Official autopsy findings: a Spanish autopsy report indicated the cause of death was pulmonary embolism, blood clot. However, the family had his body brought back to the UK for a second autopsy, the results of which were reportedly inconclusive or are still pending. Suspicious circumstances: the family has highlighted several suspicious details. His cash savings, designer glasses, and phone missing from the property. CCTV footage reportedly showed 3 men running away from Dryden's home on the night he died. His mother, Sandra Adams, reported receiving a silent call from his son's phone hours after he was believed to have died, and the phone was tracked, moving to different locations. That's not good. Family fight for justice: Dryden's mother and stepfather, Sandra and Rob Adams, believe the Spanish police are not adequately investigating the case and may be attempting a cover-up to protect the local tourism industry. Where have we heard this? They, in another case, they have been conducting their own investigations, raising funds for legal fees and private investigators via a GoFundMe page and a dedicated Facebook group, Justice for Brett Dryden. They have also held protest and memorial walks in Spain. Current status: a court spokesman has stated that the investigation has not been suspended or closed and remains open, and the court awaiting a full report from the Civil Guard. Dryden, a former Nissan worker, had lived in Mallorca for 5 years and run a legal cannabis social club known as the Doghouse. He is survived by his young daughter. The case has been covered by several news outlets and featured in a podcast titled "What Happened to Brett Dryden." I mean, that is absolutely awful. Just the start, the gash in his head at the end of the day. And obviously, he seemed quite a young businessman as well, doing the right thing. But sometimes I always think that the Guardia Civil or the other police forces always believe that this to be drug related, unless the family really, really push for answers. Nothing will ever get done. And like I said, it seems like to me is that you get more answers putting yourself in the front line of going out there and talking to the police and finding out information. Because like I said, how many families have we known, Jay Slater case, and many other cases as well like this, in Brett's case, the families have gone out there to get answers. And it's a bit of a joke that basically they just write it off as something else. And these investigations sometimes last a couple of days and then they're closed and then reopened because the family are making a big thing of it. And the Spanish police don't want it to be world news. And that's what it's all about. This is by the Chronicle Live on expat Brett Dryden. County Durham mum fights for justice after son's death in Spain. Tourist hotspot. Expat Brett Dryden was found dead in his flat in the resort in Mallorca on the Costa Almira, and his mum believes he was murdered. I mean, this is going back a bit, people, but like I said, we do need to keep putting these cases out there that are unresolved. And this is by Patrick Hill, Sonia Sharman, parenting reporter, and Gerard Cousins. So it goes on to say Brett Dryden's mum Sandra and stepdad Brad Adams, they are there. So sad. A County Durham mum says she will not rest until she gets justice for her son following his death in Spain. Sandra Adams of Chester Lestrade believes her son Brett Dryden was murdered. Ex-Bat Brett was found dead in his flat, so he was living out there with a 4-inch gash to his head and the resort of Mallorca on the Costa Almira. A large amount of cash and his mobile phone and designer sunglasses were missing. A post-mortem in Spain revealed the 35-year-old's death on July the 22nd was due to a blood clot to his lungs, known as pulmonary embolism, reports the Mirror. Sandra, who says she has heard nothing from the Spanish police for 6 months, told the Mirror they are trying to cover it up. I just want a justice for my son. I will not rest until I get justice. Sounds like a similar event in a lot of cases, that of British men going over to parts of Spain, the islands, and not coming back alive, or they've been robbed out there. Sandra, 56, and husband Robert, Brett, stepdad, travelled to Spain from a home in Chester Street the following month and heard evidence of foul play. Neighbours told Robert they had CCTV footage showing 3 men running away from Brett's home on the night he died. And yet the police, that was probably handed in to the police and they've done nothing about it. And Sandra says she received a silent call from her son's phone several hours after medics say he died. After fracking the handset, she found it was being turned on and off while moving to different locations in Spain. So obviously someone had it. That's really suspicious. Sandra said, we rang the police and said there's footage of people going into Brett's house and running away. I flagged up all these things and we think it was murder. After that, they called us and said, we need you and your husband to take a step back and let us deal with it now. Interesting, very interesting. Brett, a former Nissan factory worker and a dad of one, had lived in Mallorca for 5 years while running a legal cannabis club called the Doghouse. It was raided by police who took away CCTV footage just before Christmas, but it's not known if the operation was linked to his death. Interesting. Sandra explained that a family brought Brett home and had a full autopsy. Over here, they couldn't find the cause of death. It came back inconclusive. So they took samples of his organs and took an x-ray, and we're still waiting on the report, she added. Sandra believed he was beaten around the head and had no idea why anyone would want to hurt her son, she said. His friends say they can't understand it. Maybe it was a robbery gone wrong, people. Brett was a big character in Mallorca. He knew a lot of people and he had a lot of friends. He was very helpful, polite boy. He never had a problem. He was very well loved. Spanish police declined to comment on the case. The Mirror reports as a court spokesman told the publications the investigations hasn't been suspended or closed. It's still open and the incident remains under investigation. The court is waiting for the civil guard to complete the full report and present in the conclusion for the time being there. Nothing more we can say. We have a number of communities to join, so you can choose. Oh, these are the Chronicles live team people. It's all there. Unbelievable. But I do hope that basically his parents do get the answers. His stepdad, Rob, and mum, Sandra, to be honest with you. But like I said, this doesn't look good to me. In what we've heard, it's just really bizarre. It really is, in that the police had come to that conclusion. Let's move on. Welcome back to part 3, people. There is a Justice for Brett Dryden join Facebook, Justice for Brett Dryden. And like I said, it's such a shame at the end of the day that his mum haven't got the answers. And we're going to go back. The latest information is September 2025. The police investigations into the death of British man Brett Dryden in Mallorca, Spain, was provisionally closed by a Spanish judge, but his family has continued to fight for the case to remain open for justice. Case provisionally closed in September 2025. A Spanish judge made the decision to provisionally close the case due to the lack of arrests and outstanding full police report from the civil guard. It sounds like to me they didn't do their job properly. What about these 3 guys? Could they identify anyone? The decision has caused fury and distress for his family, who believe he was murdered. Family fight for justice. Brett's mother, Sandra Adams, has publicly voiced her strong belief that her son was the victim of a violent murder, not a natural death, and initially suggested by some authorities. The family maintains that evidence support to foul play, including a 4 centimetre gash to his head, which they discovered themselves. Wow. And the police didn't even tell them that. Signs of a struggle, including bloody handprints on walls and furniture, missing belongings, including cash, a phone, designer sunglasses, and car keys. Like I said, I think it sounds like a robbery gone wrong and they killed him. CCTV footage reportedly showing 3 men running from his home on the night he died, and that was basically given to a family by the neighbour. The family has been actively campaigning for justice, raising funds for legal fees, and running the public justice for Brett Dryden campaign. They continue to use social media platforms and news interviews to raise awareness and pressure the authorities to continue the investigation. This is what we like to hear. The family won't rest until they get justice for Brett. They have been receiving support from the Foreign Office and have an active Facebook group dedicated to the cause, where you can find the latest family updates on the Justice for Brett Dryden Facebook group. I'll keep putting this case out there and help the family as much as I can with news, people. But like I said, some of these cases, I believe the police think they're regulated and take no interest in them. And how many times have we seen this? But like I said, we'll get behind the family and support them for, justice for this man at the end of the day, who was trying to run a business, Brett, and basically, I believe that basically maybe someone followed him, possibly back to the premise, ambushed him, and I think it possibly could have been a robbery gone wrong, but the family need more information.